is Kcal News Mornings.
Good morning. Today's Monday, September 22nd. I'm Jamie Yukas. A pursuit ends with a shootout. We're going to listen in to the moment it happened and get a new update on the investigation.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. The governor is spearheading new efforts to crack down on immigration raids in our community. We're going to explain the new rules and how they affect children.
All right, Marina, thank you. And that gives us something to look forward to. Let's take a look at your current conditions outside with our next traffic. I do have that SIG alert still in Orange County, causing a very heavy backup. So you'll have to leave at least 45 minutes to an hour early. I've issued a next traffic alert for this as well. So as you head out the door, give yourself plenty of extra time. Southbound side of the 5 freeway will take you about 2 hours and 20 minutes just to go a couple miles there, with overall speeds down to about 5 miles per hour. That backup is leaving San Clemente as you make your way into Camp Pendleton. The rest of Orange County at the moment, not too bad, although I am seeing slowing on the 57 south through Brea. There's no crashes to report there. In the LA area, a crash cleared up on the northbound 110 at Florence. Lanes now open, but still about a 22-minute ride between the 105 stay slow into downtown. And here's a look at the 405 freeway's Pulveda Pass. It is already bumper to bumper, about 40 minutes right now from Roscoe over to Sunset. Leaving you with a look at the Inland Empire, the 15, the 91, and the 215 all slow. I'll have our travel times there coming up in just a bit. Ladies, back to you.
All right, we want to get to Mark Liu now at the desk, and some developing news there, Mark, for us with some flames at a home.
Yeah, so this was really big flames coming from the rear of a home in South LA, and the first arriving firefighters thought that it was a garage back there that was on fire, but after investigating, they realized it was a small home, oftentimes called an ADU. Take a look at the video. It was shot by someone who was passing by this scene near 53rd and Danker. Now, this is about 9:45 last night. Multiple 911 calls came in from the neighborhood of that. Big flames, smoke also coming from the back there. The first arriving firefighters declared on the scanner that this was a detached garage that was on fire. But after talking with the people at the home and also their own investigation, they determined this was what's called an ADU, or accessory dwelling unit. This is a small home that's usually built to the rear of a property. They can be maybe 500 square feet sometimes. Well, everyone got out. There were no injuries, but that small home back there destroyed by this fire. It took firefighters about 25 minutes to get the fire put out. Took about 40 firefighters doing that job. Now, there were, as I said, no injuries, but there is going to be an arson investigation as to what caused that fire in that ADU back there last night. That's it here from the desk. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Mark, thank you for that. We now want to get into some breaking news this morning. A pursuit came to a hectic end in Upland with 2 suspects running and shots fired.
Kcal News reporter Cara Finstrom joins us live from the scene. And Cara, you just got an update from the CHP. What did they say?
We did. Well, this actually started, they tell us, about 16 miles away in Covina. That's where they first spotted the Audi that you can see behind us now, going, they say, more than 100 miles per hour. It ended when investigators say one of the 2 juveniles inside shot as officers as he bailed and ran off. A CHP spokesperson telling us that officers later wounded that suspect.
The suspect fled through the neighborhood into another location. At the secondary location, gunfire was exchanged again, in which the suspect, a juvenile, was struck in the arm and in the leg.
Come out with your hands up, nothing in your hands.
And you could hear the gunshots, the orders to surrender as that juvenile was taken into custody on a front lawn in this neighborhood. Now, investigators say when they ran the plates of the Audi during that initial pursuit, they found the car was wanted in connection with a carjacking as well as burglaries in Whittier and Downey yesterday. And they say officers were warned the driver was considered potentially armed and dangerous. The CHP spokesperson says before the car was stopped, it went the wrong way on that 10 freeway. All right, take a look. Here's how officers did stop it. They used a pit maneuver just off the freeway here in Upland. They say the other juvenile involved surrendered almost immediately. The wounded juvenile is expected to survive. Their investigation suggests, they say, that he fired officers, and then when he began running, it's unclear whether he shot at them again in the neighborhood. Now, back out here live, just want to let you know that everything's still underway behind us. So if you are in this area in Upland, right around Olive and Euclid, going to want to avoid these streets here as they're still shut down.
All right, Cara, thanks so much. What a mess there this morning. So Governor Newsom signed a legislation package to restrict the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration.
Yeah, the laws could make it tougher for ICE agents to access certain spaces and hide their identities. Kcal News reporter Tina Patel joins us live from downtown LA with a breakdown of what this is. Tina?
Yeah, the governor was here in Los Angeles over the weekend. He says he's trying to protect immigrant communities throughout the state, and he hopes this series of bills, by putting them into law, that will do that.
I'm really proud of the state of California and our state of mind that we're pushing back against these authoritarian tendencies and actions.
The 5 different bills, some of which go into effect immediately, essentially say that ICE will not be allowed in schools or hospitals without warrants or court orders. It also bans law enforcement from concealing their identity by wearing masks and orders officers to display their name and badge number while working. But federal authorities are pushing back, saying the state has no jurisdiction over the federal government. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley posted a message on social media saying he told federal agents that they can continue to protect their identities and that the new laws will have no effect on their operations. Now, we reached out to a local community group working with immigrants. They appreciate what the governor is trying to do, but say it may not be enough.
It's a positive step that the governor is taking here in California, but we firmly believe that it won't be the politicians or it won't be like the police officers or local law enforcement that's going to defend the community from these raids. Only the people will organize themselves to defend themselves from these raids.
Now, the law having to do with masks doesn't go into effect until next January. It is called the No Secret Police Act. A DHS official says even trying to compare ICE agents to a secret police is dangerous rhetoric. Legal experts say it's likely that this issue may end up in courts. We'll, of course, keep you posted. Right now, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you. President Donald Trump expected to make a major announcement today about the cause of autism in children. So the president says the announcement will include Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Mehmet Oz. It will reportedly link the development of autism in children with the use of Tylenol by mothers during pregnancy, along with a low level of folate. Folate is a vitamin taken to develop a baby's spine and brain. The maker of Tylenol has already issued a statement saying the active ingredient in Tylenol, acetaminophen, is the safest pain relief option for pregnant women.
Tens of thousands of people packed into an Arizona stadium yesterday to pay respects to Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist who was shot and killed at a Utah university. Chris Holmstrom joins us live now with details of what went on. Chris?
He wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life.
During an emotional tribute, Erica Kirk told thousands of mourners she forgives the man accused of killing her husband, conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love.
Moments later, President Trump took the stage and sounded a different note.
That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry.
In his remarks, the president praised Charlie Kirk.
He's a martyr now for American freedom.
and veered into politics.
Tariffs are making us rich again. We're going to save Chicago.
The president was seen smiling and chatting with former advisor billionaire Elon Musk as top officials took to the stage, some issuing a call to action in Kirk's name.
For Charlie, we will rebuild this United States of America to greatness.
They cannot imagine what they have awakened.
27-year-old Arizona resident Harrison Stevens said the messages invigorated the crowd.
People are using the term like picking up the bloody microphone that Charlie left behind. And I think that Turning Point will definitely grow.
President Trump again said he plans to posthumously award Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom soon.
All right, Chris, thank you. A protest is planned in Hollywood this morning in response to Jimmy Kimmel being pulled from the air over his comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. U.S. House lawmakers will join several Hollywood unions like the WGA, DGA, IATC, and the Teamsters for the rally outside the Dolby Theater. Many are saying the suspension is a violation of the First Amendment and that they'll be there to defend the right to free speech for all Americans.
Yesterday, Britain, Canada, Australia, and Portugal officially recognized Palestine as a state, a unilateral move that has long been opposed by the U.S. and Israel. More countries are expected to do the same this week as world leaders gather in New York for the UN General Assembly.
And this is mostly a symbolic act of support for Palestine, but it does add pressure on Israel to ease the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
The recognition puts key allies at odds now with the United States. So joining us now is UCLA professor Benjamin Rad. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Can we just start with the significance of these countries recognizing Palestine now?
Well, the significance now is that it puts additional pressure on all parties, on both sides, I should say, to reach some kind of an agreement. It gives an incentive to the Palestinians